Mr. Speaker, they keep talking about things that they were doing or should have been doing before inflation struck. The fact is, Canadians are worried about losing their homes, they're worried about feeding their families, and the Liberal plan is another $7 on the GST rebate. That's not a plan. That's a talking point for a government that's more concerned about inflation as a public relations problem than it is about an economic problem. A real plan would provide CERB debt relief, double the GST rebate, increase the Canada Child Benefit. So when is the Deputy Prime Minister going to kindly announce that plan?
Hear, hear.
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's disappointing that the NDP continue to push this cynical and frankly disingenuous narrative that somehow Canadians are only getting $7 more in affordability supports. They know very well, Mr. Speaker, that in my own city of Edmonton, childcare benefits $10,000 this year, and the Canada Child Benefit, Mr. Speaker, in Vancouver, a mother with 2 children, $13,666. That's a lot more than $7, Mr. Speaker. The NDP need to stop playing for political points and tell the whole story.
The Honourable Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, the Finance Minister must be wearing industrial-grade noise-cancelling earphones to avoid hearing the calls from economists to cut her government's over-the-top spending. She knows that it's only adding gas to the inflationary fire. The Prime Minister has said that anything that has a hint of fiscal restraint is austerity. He axed Bill Morneau for wanting to get post-COVID spending under control. Is she worried that if she presents anything to the Prime Minister that remotely resembles a cut, that she might suffer the same fate of her predecessor, who went from Finance Minister Morneau to Finance Minister No More?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, let's take a look at the facts. The Conservatives ran on a platform to spend $168 billion. I'm glad they didn't get elected. That would have been simply irresponsible. But let's look at the economy, Mr. Speaker. Let's look at the fact that we have a GDP that grew 5.6% in Q1. This fall again, S&P and Moody's affirmed our AAA credit rating. 3.5 million jobs recovered since the worst part of the pandemic, ahead of the United States, and the lowest unemployment rate at 5.1% since 1976. The economy's doing well. The Conservatives don't like it, but we sure do.
The Honourable Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nicola.
Keep trying to change the channel, but these SpendDP Liberals don't, won't, or can't understand that their obsession with spending is fueling inflation and hurting Canadians. Doug Porter, chief economist at BMO, said fiscal policy has every bit as much a role to play in dampening inflation as does monetary policy, and fiscal policy should definitely not get a pass in the inflation fight. Conservatives have been saying cut discretionary spending, give Canadians a break at the pumps. Those are good starting points. The question is, when will this Minister of Finance stop fueling inflation and instead start fighting it?
Honourable Minister of Tourism.
I invite the members of the opposition, and that member in particular, to vote with us the next time we have a piece of legislation in this House that's actually designed to improve the lives of Canadians and make their lives more affordable. The Conservatives have voted against every single measure that we've put on the floor of this House to make life more affordable, Mr. Speaker, including C2, including the Canada Child Benefit, including making sure that OAS payments are indexed. Mr. Speaker, they are all talk, no action. On this side, we're focused on affordability for Canadians.
L'honorable député de Louis Saint-Laurent.
Monsieur le Président, le sujet numéro 1.
Mr. Speaker, the #1 subject of concern to every Canadian is inflation, and this Liberal government is responsible for increasing it. It's not just the Conservatives saying it. Yesterday, Scotiabank's chief economist, Jean-François Perrault, said the government's high level of budgetary expenditures is leading to an unnecessarily large decrease in private spending. In short, the government doesn't know how to manage, and it's hurting the economy. Is this government finally going to be responsible when there's inflation and curb its spending? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I wonder if the Honourable Member voted for or against the Conservative plan to have a $168 billion deficit during their election campaign. But on this side, we have made sure that the Canada Child Benefit is indexed to inflation. We have reduced taxes for the middle class twice. We've increased old age security and introduced a tax cut. And Conservatives are voting against Canadians, and we're voting for them. The Honourable Member